I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer.
Joe Rogan just revealed why Jake Paul, the so-called boxing prodigy, turned down Andrew Tate's huge fight offer. Not only did he reject the challenge, but he also straight up tossed aside a $3 million deal. So what's going on? Is Jake scared of losing? Or does he only step into the ring when the odds are heavily in his favor? It seems like the only thing scripted here might be his so-called career.
If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living out of a goofy, entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate. Google it if you want to know more. Any day, any...
Don't worry, I'm breaking down why Jake rejected the fight, including Andrew Tate's savage call-outs and how Joe Rogan exposed Jake's play it safe strategy. Get ready for a story full of drama, ego, and hilarious truths you won't want to miss. Buckle up, it's going to be wild.
As a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing, you know?
Work. Go. Work. Come on, keep going. Work. Come on, fight. Make it. Hey. 30 seconds. Come on, 20 seconds to work, Austin. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, work. Hey. Work. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Good. Work. 10 seconds. Work.
Jake Paul claims he'll take on any challenger, but ducks out when the real test arrives. Who better to expose him than Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate? If there's a handbook on avoiding legitimate competition while bragging about being the best, Jake Paul probably wrote it. His actions speak louder than his words.
Yeah, he'll never do that, though. He knows. He knows way.
One, he's under contract. And two,
he's not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better. He might
and it's funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never box.
When Andrew Tate, former kickboxing champion and professional provocateur, called out Jake Paul, the internet went wild. Tate didn't hold back, offering a $3 million bet and an anytime, anywhere ultimatum. But instead of stepping into the ring, Jake hesitated. Not the kind of hesitation that builds suspense, but the awkward kind, making you wonder if he was scrambling to text his PR team for an excuse. His response didn't exactly scream confidence.
You've got somebody like me. He'd mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself. He's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my finance.
Then came Jake's brilliant pivot, fighting Mike Tyson. Yes, the 57-year-old retired legend who hasn't been in his prime since VHS tapes were a thing. In his infinite wisdom, Jake decided boxing Tyson was a better move than facing someone like Andrew Tate, who's in fighting shape and unpredictably dangerous. Sure, it was a calculated move, but it screamed one thing louder than anything else. We all know that fight was scripted, but Jake can't do a scripted fight with Andrew Tate. The real challenge is too risky for his carefully controlled image.
So when you see some of these crossover fights, obviously I know that you and Jake Paul have had your disagreements. Do you think that Jake's gotten better as a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing, you know?
Let's not pretend this is Jake Paul's first time avoiding a fight he couldn't control. His entire boxing career has been a masterclass in cherry-picking opponents. Former basketball players, retired MMA fighters with zero boxing experience, check. Now, Tyson, a retired heavyweight with enough fame to sell tickets but not enough speed to pose a real threat. It's a pattern so glaringly obvious that even Jake's most loyal fans are starting to notice. His carefully curated list of opponents is becoming harder to ignore. Joe Rogan didn't hesitate to call out Jake Paul on his podcast, pointing out that Jake's strategy is all about avoiding anyone who could actually beat him. He's been fighting older, undersized opponents, with Rogan summing up what everyone else has been thinking. Jake doesn't want to fight Andrew Tate because Tate is younger, faster, and far more unpredictable than anyone Jake has faced. Rogan went even further, saying that Jake's reluctance to face Tate shows he's more focused on preserving his record than proving himself as a legitimate fighter.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Let's talk about Andrew Tate for a second. This isn't some washed-up internet personality looking for a quick payday. Tate is a former kickboxing world champion with a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove. He didn't just challenge Jake Paul, he practically dared him. His $3 million bet wasn't a publicity stunt, it was a statement. Tate knew Jake wouldn't take the fight and wanted to make that fact as public as possible. But Tate didn't stop there. When Jake Paul ghosted him, he doubled down, calling Jake out again and pointing out the painfully obvious. Jake's entire career is built on fighting opponents he can control. There's a difference between training and being a fighter, Tate said, delivering one of the most savage truths to Jake's entire existence. Prime fighters destroy hobbyists. Ouch.
Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is the weak link.
I say let's
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA double tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight on.
Jake's silence after Tate's second challenge was deafening. For someone who never shuts up when hyping up his fights, Jake suddenly had nothing to say. His fans, who had been hyped about the possibility of a Paul Tate showdown, were left scratching their heads. If this feels like Jake just got rocked by a verbal 1-2 combo, then slip the jab and smash that subscribe button, because this saga is delivering more hits than Jake ever will in a real fight. Let's break it down. Jake Paul chose to fight Mike Tyson instead of Andrew Tate because Tyson is safer. Sure, Tyson is a boxing icon, but let's not forget that he's 57 years old and well past his prime. Jake knew he could control the narrative in a Tyson fight. He knew it would sell pay-per-views due to Tyson's name, not because it would actually be a real challenge. We all know that fight was scripted. Most importantly, Jake knew it wouldn't risk his carefully curated record. Tate, however, posed a real threat he couldn't dodge.
Why don't you lose to an old man who's retired? I live in the real fucking world, Jake. There's a whole bunch of fighters out here who live in the real fucking world. Men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fucking fraction of the money you have because you've managed to become a fucking clown.
In contrast, Andrew Tate is in his mid-30s, in peak physical condition with years of combat sports experience. Tate is unpredictable, skilled, and uninterested in playing Jake's game. If Jake stepped into the ring with Tate, he wouldn't just risk losing. He'd risk being exposed as the hobbyist Tate has accused him of being.
Go fight! Hey, fight! Hey, go fight! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, keep going. Come on, work. Go, work. Come on, Marcus, keep going. Work! Come on, fight! Make it. 50 seconds. Come on, 20 seconds to walk, Steve. Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Joe Rogan didn't hold back when discussing Jake's decision to fight Tyson instead of Tate. Jake Paul doesn't want to fight someone he can't control, Rogan said, cutting through Jake's facade like a hot knife through butter. And he's right. Jake's entire career revolves around control, controlling opponents, controlling the narrative, and controlling the spectacle. Andrew Tate, however, represents the one thing Jake can't control, a real challenge. If Jake thought his fans wouldn't notice his dodge, he was sorely mistaken. Social media exploded with criticism, and the backlash was brutal. Fans called him a coward, a fraud, and worse. Even some of Jake's supporters admitted that avoiding Tate while fighting Tyson was a bad look. The internet doesn't forget, and this move may haunt Jake for the rest of his career as the cracks in his carefully constructed image continue to show.
The best boxer on the planet is?
Jake Paul.
Why?
I mean, who's doing it?
I mean, if Mike Tyson says, let's do this, are you down?
100%.
I'm gonna make Mike my girlfriend.
Would you fight Mike Tyson?
Again, no, because he's now old, and I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair. Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in the boxing match. So to beat him when he's past his prime is dishonorable, and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me to fight.
Let's not forget Tate's fans who eagerly joined the chorus of criticism, flooding Jake's social media with taunts and reminders of his refusal to face a real fighter. Tate, of course, took full advantage, calling Jake out for being scared and reiterating his challenge. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare, and Jake had no response. The pressure mounted, and his silence spoke volumes.
I'm known as a fighter in a way that he never will be. I'm known as a fighter in the way that if you throw me in a cell with a murderer, a rapist, and 2 drug dealers, people look at me and go, okay, respect. He would have left with a higher male body count than his fiance. That's how he would have left.
Joe Rogan's comments only added fuel to the fire. He didn't just expose Jake's strategy. He completely dismantled it. He's avoiding young, competitive opponents, Rogan said, and it's hard to argue with that assessment. Every opponent Jake has faced so far has either been past their prime, out of their weight class, or out of their depth. Fighting Andrew Tate would have been a chance for Jake to silence his critics and prove he's more than just a YouTuber with a decent punch. Instead, he chose the easy way out, and Rogan wasn't about to let him off the hook. Jake Paul's decision to reject Andrew Tate's fight offer has done more than just damage his reputation. It's exposed the core weakness in his entire brand. For years, Jake has built his career on the illusion of being a fearless competitor, but this saga has shattered that image. Fans now see him for what he really is, a businessman more focused on selling fights than proving himself as a legitimate boxer.
Jake Paul can fight. It's not like Jake Paul can't fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just won't fight anybody.
And then there's the looming question, where does Jake go from here? Does he continue dodging real opponents and risk further backlash, or does he finally step up and face someone like Andrew Tate? The longer he avoids fighters like Tate, the more his reputation will suffer. Tate and Joe Rogan have exposed Jake in a way no opponent ever has. They've revealed the cracks in his armor, and now the world is watching. Jake can keep pretending he's the future of boxing, but as long as he avoids real challenges, that narrative will crumble. His empire of hype and half-truths is on shaky ground, and unless he changes course, it's only a matter of time before it collapses entirely.